Folks, we're in town today because a very important day. Originated from the Eugene Johnson Foundation. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Working with some good folks out of Dallas, Texas. Steve Hauser, the
Texas Historic Tree Coalition.
Yes, you'll hear him in just a moment. And Mr. Ikel, who are you with?
Well, let's say it started with the West Kessler Native Arbor Initiative, which Eugene, who's filming is absolutely a part of. And that's how this started.
Yes, I want him to speak a little bit about the trees, marker trees.
Okay. Well, I represent the Texas Historic Tree Coalition, which is a group that works, we're all volunteers. We work to find, research, recognize, and celebrate our most historic trees in the state of Texas. So we're a group of all volunteers, and I work primarily on Indian marker trees, which are a unique part of the Comanche history that are living witnesses to the past history of the Comanche Nation and their incredible way of life. So I'm very fortunate to be able to spend a lot of time with the Comanches over the years. And what we do is we look for Indian marker trees. People send them to me. I get 3 or 4 submissions every week. I've had over 700 trees that have been submitted to me. We have to research them to find out whether they're real marker trees, which is quite a subject. The first thing we have to do is find out whether they're over 150 years old. The Comanches haven't been here for 150 years. So they're got to be larger trees. They're sometimes bent, but not always. Think of the treaty oak in Austin. Many of you might be familiar with the treaty oak in Austin. That is a Comanche marker tree. Although recent research that I've done found that there was not a treaty signed underneath it. I don't know why they call it the treaty oak, but the Comanches that I work with are probably going to recognize that one in the near future as a council oak. There was originally a group of 14 live oak trees, very large live oak trees, that the different bands of Comanche would meet underneath them. So those will be called council oak. So some of the Comanches and I wrote a book. It's called Comanche Marker Trees of Texas a number of years ago. It started in 2011. Some other marker tree researchers around the nation, there's only 2 other groups, Dennis Downs up around the Great Lakes, Mountain Stewards over on the East Coast, wrote a book in 2011 on their marker trees. So I went to the Comanche elders, showed them the books, and we talked about marker trees. And of course the next question they ask is, when are you going to write a book? I was like, oh, I'm an arborist, I'm not a writer, I don't want to write a book. But they convinced me to write the book. But the most important thing I want to mention, I wrote the book to commemorate them. I don't make a penny out of it. I'm a volunteer. Every penny that I make, as well as some other donations, I always contribute to a worthwhile Comanche Nation cause. So the other thing I want to mention is nature can create bent trees. I know that's confusing to people, but think about ice storms that you've seen in the past. Ice storm will bend that trunk over to where it looks just like a marker tree. But remember, it has to be 150 years old. And I have to do enough research to find out what is the purpose of this tree. What purpose did it serve? I have to be able to prove that the Comanches were in that area at the period of time when I thought it was created. So it's a lot of research. Sometimes I'll spend 2 or 3 months on a tree, turn it over to the Comanches, and they'll say, sorry, that's not one of ours. So we start all over again. So I've been doing it 25 years now. Now to 25 years, there's 6 trees in the book, and we're up to all of 12 trees that have been officially recognized. So what other questions?
Steve, you've told me in the past that one of the other things that you do is you can look at how the tree has been stressed and articulated by man. That it wouldn't have grown that way naturally, but an arborist could tell, right?
To a certain degree, but I've seen nature create trees that looked exactly like marker trees. I've done all my research. I've been able to prove they were 150 years old, and it come to find out I was wrong. They weren't marker trees. So It's a delicate subject and one that takes a lot of time to do all that research, only to find out they're not real, true marker trees. So only the Comanche Nation can recognize these as marker trees, and they're the only nation around the entire nation of the United States that have officially and formally recognized these trees. That's very significant. There's other tribes that say, yeah, we think maybe we had marker trees. They're the only group that officially says, yes, these were our marker trees. Jim, Kristi?
Yeah, you missed about like what's the purpose of marker trees? What did it signify? Where did it point to?
Good question. Different trees had different meanings. Some of them were trail markers. We had the Quanah Parker Trail that came up from the south. It kind of went around the Madison Mounds and then went to the northeast from there. So it can be that. We had one that was pointing to a painted rock quarry, which is very significant. If you were an Indian back then, you needed that painted rock to be able to paint your face. So it was very important to be able to not only find those, there's others that are in the book, such as burial trees, for instance. There's other types of trees that have been recognized in the past. Good question, though. Any other questions?
And today we're going to be planting a marker tree, and it will be doing what?
This will be the first time we've ever planted a tree that will be an Indian marker tree or a Comanche marker tree in the future. I'll come back probably in a year, year and a half to 2 years, and we will bend this tree. Mr. Parker wants it to point towards the Madison Mounds. So a lot of these trees pointed to a natural resource. Some of the ones in the book on either side of the Trinity River pointed to a low water crossing. That was very important 150, 200 years ago. When you're traveling, you hit the river, you can't cross it safely. You have to know where that low water crossing is. So the other thing that's important is just because nature bent a tree doesn't mean it's not a marker tree. The common perception is, well, they tied down these trees and all of them had to have been tied down. Well, no, you think back 150, 200 years ago, what were your priorities? Food, water, shelter, but also direction. Now you think of even today, if you're giving somebody direction, you have street names, but you can say, go down to the end of the street till you see that odd-shaped tree and follow how it goes. Even if nature created it, it still could have been used as a potential marker tree. So, good questions. Yes, sir.
Are there any, I got 2 questions. Are there any marker trees? What's the closest one to this area from?
Good question. Holiday, Texas.
Okay.
There was one in Holiday that we celebrated, what, it was 2 or 3 years ago. I know you were there. And there are several of them up around the Red River, around Holiday, Gainesville, kind of in that area.
We went to the Red River. We found a bunch of mattresses.
The Red River is not too far away, but
Completely empty.
around the Red River was probably as close as we come to this area. You would think that they have one in this area, but that's not necessarily true. You know, we've looked at some of them in far west Texas, but the consensus so far has been this was Comanche land. Why would we need a marker tree? We knew our land, we knew where to go. So they didn't always need markers unless it was outside of their normal area. Then they might have needed a marker tree to help them.
Okay, my other question is, over by Kroll in Ford County, there's this big marker. It was built with rock. It's pretty tall. The Indians build markers out of rock sometimes.
That would be a question for you.
I don't know. It could have been the military that did it.
Yeah, I've seen that, yes.
Oh, you've seen those?
I've seen it, yes.
I took him to it, John.
Huh?
I took him to it.
Well, there's other times that they have, like a medicine wheel is what it's called. That has been formally recognized as well as one of their historic areas. So not necessarily a tree, but it's still historic. And one of the things I mentioned to the people in Holiday when we did that celebration, there were 60 or 70 elders that took a bus down to that event. It was a lot of fun. I love working with the Comanches. I've been very thrilled, very honored, deeply honored to be able to work with them. And if you've never been, The Comanche has the Comanche Fair, usually this time of the year, third weekend, fourth week in September. Everybody's welcome to go up there. It's kind of like a Mardi Gras. It's a big circular road. They have teepees, and it's at the tribal complex. And I told this story to you when I was up there, because it's one of my favorites. They have people that go through, kind of like a Mardi Gras. There's the Indian princesses. Usually it's the tribal chair comes first with his bonnet on his horses. The Indian princesses, the drummers come through, the bikers come through. It is a lot of fun, and as they go by, they're throwing out candy and stuff to people, and so it's one of my favorite events. But a number of years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, I pulled up and I saw the tribal elders were there, and it had been raining, it was muddy, and I'm talking to the elders, and they said, well, it rained out our floats that they usually bring behind them, and we weren't able to bring the float today, and we're kind of short on people. And they said, would you like to ride with us? And I kind of stuttered. I was like, well, I'd be deeply honored to ride with the elders. That was one of the greatest moments of my life. So I hopped in the truck, and I was so happy. One of my other volunteers that was with me called me, where are you? And I said, I'm riding with the elders. He said, oh, you big liar. I said, no, I swear I'm riding with the elders. You better take my picture when I come by. So he took my picture when I came by, and I was talking to him later. And he said the guy next to him looked at him and he says, you know, that's the blondest Comanche I've ever seen. I've laughed about that ever since. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist telling him that.
Problem.
Any other questions? Fascinating subject. It's something that's well worth my time to work with these people, and I'm thrilled, I'm honored to be able to work with them. I really am.
So after mine and Jeanne's father, my mom's husband, Eugene, also passed away in November, we were kind of trying to think of a way to honor his legacy and continue on some of the good work that he did for the community of Quanah. And so we kind of, it started with the Friends of the Park group working in the city park, and it kind of grew from there, and we decided to start a foundation to focus not only on the park, but Quanah public spaces in general. So once we connect with Bob on the trees, that all originated with just wanting to plant a dozen trees in the park. And so the foundation we officially launched in May of this year, and anyway, our focus is really Quanah and Hardeman County public spaces. So we're happy that this event kind of became our launching point for the new foundation. So thank you guys for showing up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Texas Master Naturalist, and I'm on Mr. Hauser's Indian Marker Tree Committee, and was trained on multiple levels by Mr. Hauser and a lot of naturalist experts in the DFW area. And so Mr. Hauser wants, a lot of people think they have a marker tree, and so he's trained volunteers to go do some of his preliminary research, and one is to get a branch that might be down and take a cookie and bring it back to him to do a coffee analysis.
Ring analysis.
Ring analysis with coffee. So today, this last a couple weeks ago, when he said he was coming up and he needed some help, I said okay, why not? And then was really honored to get to meet the Parker family and descendants and the Johnson family. So Mr. Parker, I met him on Facebook last week and told him of my interest and I was coming, and so he decided that I was going to hang pictures in the Parker Center, and I wrangled my new buddies Daryl and Randy over there, and so we put the pictures up. So if you have time to go by there, this is a brand new exhibition on loan, and it's really spectacular, beautiful, big photos that just right behind that building, and it's air conditioned. That what you needed?
Very good, thank you, Kristi.
It's in the Quanah Parker Center. It was delivered by an elderly couple Friday, I'm sorry. All the way from Fort Worth, and drove up here to deliver it. And we got most of it up. We're working on it, thanks to Randy and Daryl.
One other person I'd like Dallas area. We work with the Dallas Mavericks, the basketball team, to plant trees in Dallas area schools and Dallas area parks. I think it's probably the 10th year that we've done it. We've planted probably around 5,000 trees in Dallas area parks. So he is a citizen forester, another volunteer group that is taught how to properly care and maintain and plant trees. So we're glad he's here. We should give them both a round of applause just for coming. So thank you guys. We appreciate it.
Speak to us.
Well, we just have a small educational group that we train the citizens of Dallas to go out and be stewards in their neighborhoods, be the person who represents their neighborhoods as the tree experts. And so anybody in their neighborhood has a problem with a tree, they know who to go to. And then, of course, like Steve said, we do a lot of tree plantings, and we help the parks, the schools, we plant trees in medians, and we do events like this. So it's a good group. And
What motivates you, Miriam, to volunteer your 10 years?
well, I like trees, and Steve already explained, I think, all the benefits of trees this morning. I won't go through all the big words again that he used, but it benefits all of us. It benefits especially kids. A lot of asthma and respiratory problems with children in Dallas, and it's all because of the poor air quality. And planting more trees, especially around schools, it does psychologically a good thing. It does physiologically a good thing for the youth. And so we get the kids involved in the tree planting, explain to them why they do it, so hopefully they'll come up and be the stewards of the future and plant some trees themselves. That's why we do it, and that's why I like to help.
Give him a hand.
Good job.
Thank you. I'm going to call upon my sister on behalf of the family to speak for us. My sister Ardith.
Thank you, Ardith, for coming.
Well, I've never been to a tree dedication, but I like trees. We grew up playing in a creek with my grandmother who couldn't speak any English. She only spoke Comanche. And she kept an eye on us, but we climbed lots of trees. We didn't get any poison ivy. You know, we were kind of tough because we'd go down there and she'd bring her lunch. So we have a lot of good memories around our old home place under playing in the trees. But I just want to say that it's nice on behalf of our family that it's always nice to come to Quanah. Of course, you know why. But like, you know, you say the word Quanah, it's like, oh man, let's go. Because anywhere Quanah's been, that's where we want to be. We want to carry on that legacy, and I can't think of a better way than to plant a tree and I can drive by or tell my grandchildren that I was there when they planted that tree. So I know it's a good thing, and whoever's done a lot of work getting this prepared, you probably in the book he wrote, we thank you all. And I have a granddaughter that does the Lord's Prayer, and she's in high school. Are you a freshman? No? But she's always willing to come, and even if she has to wait a long time before she gets a burger. She ate a cookie while she was waiting, but I'm proud that she loves to do this, and I have some other grandchildren that do it, but she's going to be doing the Lord's Prayer for us, and her name is Madison Downs, and her mother was my first grandchild. So she's actually my great-grandchild. So Madison, if you want to come up here. But thank you for inviting us, and thank you for all being here. I know you probably have other things you need to do, but this will be real memorable to our family too.
luminary, let's drum.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead. These are just rocks, just trees that
Daryl.
put the
Daryl.
cedar all around.
Yeah.
Closer.
The idea is to give blessing not only to this time but this place. The marker for which this tree will be known by many people. And it's our prayer that this tree will bring remembrance, will bring spirituality, will bring humbleness, and will bring direction to those that are in need. I thank you for the organization that is making this possible, that someday my grandchildren, my great-great-grandchildren will come back here and see how important it is for a community and people working together to come to a common cause of helping to make this environment a better place for which we live. And I thank you, Father God, for helping all of us. I thank you for my friend Randy. He helps us in anything, and he's like our family. So I just appreciate that. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and sing a song. If that's okay, or what do you want me to do? 4?
Okay, don't take off with that. I'm going to need it.
Quanah, Parker, but I've all, hey, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, yo. Quanah, Parker, but I've all, hey, 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 ya, hey, ya, hey, yo. Quanah, Parker, but I've all, hey, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, yo. Quanah, Parker, but I've all, hey, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, yo. Quanah, Parker, but I've all, hey, 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 ya, hey, ya, hey, yo. Quanah, Parker, but I've all, hey, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, yo. Quanah, Parker, but I've all, hey, 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 ya, hey, ya, hey, yo. hey ya, we ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, we ya, yo dee hi ya, hey ya, hey ya, hi ya, ya, hey ya, we ya, hey ya, yo dee hi ya, we ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, yo dee hi ya, we ya, hey ya, ya, hey ya, yo dee hi ya, hey ya, hey ya, yo. Those two songs. The first song talks about a people, native people. In a hard winter after hunting, the party came back to the campground, and the campground was annihilated. Old men, women, children, teepees burnt, people laying in the frozen snow. And these warriors, they began to sing that song. They was crying in their heart. Their hearts were heavy. All they could do was shout out. Then when all that was done, picked up what they could of their belongings, packed it on their horses, and they left. That's that second song. They got through that hardship, and then they picked up and they went on the song, except different. Always remember that our native people suffered in a lot of ways, and that's the cost of war. But we should always give reverence to those that gave their lives to protect their land. That's all they were doing. We live in a free country today. We couldn't live in a better country. But we should all be thankful, and we should all pay homage to the people who helped develop this country, the United States of America, the best country in the world. Thank you.
Folks, I think I want to say I'm happy to be in Quanah. I know some of you, don't know all of you, but trust me, you'll get to know me. My office is over here. It's getting more and more things there, thanks to you. Thanks to the city, Eugene, your mom, for having us. Thank you.